This is my plant and animal cell by Nash Pritchard. This is the plant cell, and these are the many parts of the plant cell. This is the inner part of the plant cell, and then this right here, the cell wall, is the outer part of the plant cell. The cell wall actually covers the whole cell, but in this diagram it only covers half to show what's on the inside of the cell. Now, the cell wall protects the cell's insides, and it also keeps the cell's structure, so then altogether the plant can keep its structure. It also has little holes that let in good things like heat and sunlight and water. It also makes sure the bad things don't come into the cell. Now onto the cell membrane. The cell membrane is all of the white stuff that's over here. Now again, the cell membrane covers the whole cell. Just in this diagram, it doesn't show it on the right half of the cell. Now, the cell membrane also filters through all the good stuff and also makes sure the bad stuff doesn't come in. And it also serves a very important purpose. It makes sure that all of the cell parts stay in the cell. Next is the mitochondria. The mitochondria is that little yellow, looks like a macaroni. It's known as the power source for the cell. The mitochondria kind of acts like the digestive system for the cell. It takes in the nutrients and it converts them into energy. Now the chloroplasts right here, they are the food producers of the cell. Their job is to convert light energy from the sun and converts them into different kinds of sugars for use by the cell. Now the cytoplasm is the fluid that fills the cell. Now the cytoplasms are located all over the cell, but just in this diagram, just to show what they look like, they're just in one central spot to show you. Now, the nucleus is sort of the brain of the cell. It helps control eating, moving, and reproduction. And that wraps up the main parts of the plant cell. Now we move on to the animal cell. Now this is the animal cell. And these are the main parts of the animal cell. There is the cytoplasms, the mitochondria, the cell membrane, and the nucleus. And now we're going to start with the cell membrane. Now, the cell membrane is, in an animal cell, there is no cell wall. So the cell membrane takes up the responsibilities, of the cell wall. It lets the good things come in, and it keeps the bad things from coming out. And it also keeps all of the plant parts of the cell inside the cell. Now, the reason that animal cells don't have cell walls is because animals have to be able to move around to survive, so their cells can't be structures. They have to be free-flowing objects like these. That's why the animal cells are not solid structures. The cytoplasms are, again, the liquid in the cell, and they're located all over the cell. Next is the mitochondria, which again is the powerhouse for the cell, which it takes in the nutrients and converts them into energy. And lastly is the nucleus, which is also the brain of the animal cell, and it controls movement, reproduction, and eating. Cells are like the toolboxes that keep all the necessary tools to keep an organism alive. Now, the cell membrane of an animal cell is very loose. It's very free-flowing, and it helps the structure of the free-flowing cell membrane helps because without it being free-flowing, then the animal couldn't move. It would just be stationary. And then the cell membrane of the plant cell is actually the same, basically, except it's surrounded by the cell wall, which makes it very rigid, and which is very rigid, so it keeps its shape. And there are little holes in the cell membrane, as you can see in the animal cell, that it lets water and sunlight and everything come into the cell. And so the cell can thrive and live. Now, the cell wall, it's only on a plant cell, because if an animal cell had a cell wall, then the animal couldn't move. So the cell wall, its purpose is to keep the structure of the plant so the plant can grow up very tall, and so the plant can thrive, basically. An organism is like a school system. There are many parts that make it up, and they cannot function without the other. So, it's considered a school, like suppose the middle school is a cell. It's got its many working parts, and then it's collected, it's in the same organism or system with village and coastal and the high school. And so let's consider Mr. Williams, the principal. He's the nucleus. He directs everything that happens in the school, and he coordinates everything, and he makes sure everything's in check. And then, say, the teachers are the cell membranes, because they make sure that the information that us, the students, which are the cytoplasms, because we are all over the school, and we feed the school with money and stuff. So the teachers, they're the cell membranes because they make sure that information gets through, and they make sure that all of the students are in a class, and that information is getting through to us. Like water and sunlight, that the cell membrane has to make sure that it gets into the cell. Now, Dictionary.com defines a system as an assemblage or combination of things or parts forming a complex or unitary whole. So, a cell is a system, definitely, because the many parts of the cell, like the nucleus, mitochondria, chloroplast, membrane, the cell membrane, cell wall, and cytoplasms, and on, they they need each other to operate. Now, how the operates as a system is, so say the nucleus stops working for some reason, some unknown reason. So that stops the eating, the reproduction, and the movement. So the mitochondria, which is the digestive system of the cell, that stops. And so the cell stops getting food, and then so it will slowly deteriorate and die. So as you can kind of, I hope that you can comprehend that if one part of the cell goes down, then eventually the whole cell will go down, because a system, all parts of the system have to work to make it a successful system. So if one thing dies, then eventually the whole system will cease to exist. And that concludes my cell presentation. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching.